Brussels is threatening to take legal action against the UK for not providing the EU with plans to cut emissions by 2050. The European Commission says it will pursue action if a strategy to decarbonize existing building stock by 2050 is not delivered as required by law. The threats come less than 4 weeks after Britain leaves the bloc. The UK was formerly covered by a European Union-wide climate plan but is now submitting its own post-Brexit Nationally Determined Contributions or NDCs. But a European Commission spokesman confirmed formal notices had been sent out to the UK and 13 EU member states including Belgium, Portugal, Italy and Greece for failing to submit their national long-term renovation strategies. The spokesman said, member states were under an obligation to submit to the Commission their national long-term renovation strategies by 10 March 2020. These long-term renovation strategies are a key piece of the directive, setting the path, policy measures and finance mobilization needed to decarbonize their existing building stock by 2050. This is important as the EU building sector is the largest single energy consumer in Europe and is responsible for 36% of the greenhouse gas emissions from energy in the EU. He said only 14 member states had met the deadline so far and warned the UK it had 2 months to comply with its legal obligations or face further action. Meanwhile, the government is set to announce plans for cuts of around 68% or 69%, though there are calls for bolder targets, with church leaders urging ministers to sign up to 75% reductions by 2030. The Committee on Climate Change has recommended the UK should commit to cutting emissions by at least 68% on 1990 levels by 2030. It said a 68% cut would be a clear progression from existing commitments under domestic law, which require a 61% reduction by 2030. In a letter to Business Secretary Alok Sharma, the advisory committee said cuts of that level would be in line with the UK's international commitments and would place the UK among the leading countries in climate ambition. In the letter, committee chairman Lord Deben said a 68% cut would put the UK in line with what is needed limit a rise in global temperatures to 1.5 C or less. He said it would be eminently achievable if effective policies were introduced across the economy without delay, which in turn would bring significant benefits for the UK's economic recovery.